Good morning, Internet. This is Alex the Sudokus, and it is Thursday, the 8th of October 2020, and we are going to do another medium New York Times Sudoku. So it's going to be a slow walkthrough day, so let's go for it. We're going to start by doing some Snyder notations. So the one here and the one there locks out these cells in a T shape, so I have a pair of ones there. So that doesn't do anything for us. It acts as a pointer pair looking back into these cells and that one there. So I'm going to do kind of like simple explanations today, but I'll do more in-depth explanation about pointed pairs in the future because I just don't want to run the video too long. So can't see anything else of one. So what about twos? These twos locks a pair of twos up there, and doesn't look like I've got any more twos, so let's carry on with threes. Oh yes, I'm doing a Snyder notation strategy where I only pencil marking two candidates at a time in a cage, and the idea is that it minimises the amount of pencil markings on the board and should still allow us to solve the puzzle, but also it's handy because when you minimize the pencil markings, then once you erase one candidate, then the other automatically becomes true. So it just kind of it's quite an easy way of solving most of New York Times Sudokus, and sometimes you have to break out of it a little bit, but let's hope we can do that without doing so today. So the threes I can't do anything with, so fours. I've got a pair of fours over here because of this four and that four, but in fact, if I look further into this cage, this cell can't be a four, so I should have a pointed pair of fours here. And since the four has to be in one of these two cells in this cage, it means it can't be anywhere else on the same row, and that's what a pointed pair is. And it erases any more fours in these three cells, so therefore I've erased a pencil marking in this cage, and that leaves me with one true four over here. So these two fours locks a pair of fours up here. And let's see, have I got anything else? Can't see anything else, so I'm going to do the fives. These two fives neatly keeps a pair of fives in those two cells. These two fives also locks a pair of fives over here. These two fives, along with this five, locks out all of these cells, leaving me with a single candidate of fives over here. So these two fives now locks a pair of fives down here. So for any beginners, one thing I tend to do is with the pencil marking is I pencil marks in a pair of fives down here from a vertical orientation. So what I do is I scan horizontally quickly to see if I have fives locked into the same two rows. So since in these two cages being a grid of 9 cells, if they are locked in rows 8 and 9, well, the 5 has to go in row 7 somewhere, so there has to be a 5 in these 3 cells. But since I've got a 5 in this column, I can safely assume that the 5s are locked in those 2 cells. So with the 5s, I'm able to pencil mark in all the candidates on the entire grid, which is good. Let's look at 6s. So this 6 and that 6 locks a pair of 6s here, so that forms a pointed pair, ruling out this cell as a 6. Well, this 6 rules out these 3 cells, and that 6 rules out that cell. So I have another 6 that I can place. And now these two 6s looking down also locks a 6 down here, because if we look at the rows, those 2 rows are already taken. So that means I can move on to these two 6s, pencil marking in the 6s over here as well, because that 6 takes up the row. And finally, I've got 3 possible cells that contains the 6. So I'm going to leave off the pencil marking, because I'm only going to pencil mark in where I have 2 candidates within the cage. So 7s, I have a pair of 7s over here, because there's 7 and that's 7. These two 7s actually locks a 7 in here, so that allows me to use these two 7s to pencil mark in 7s up there as well, so that's useful. Can I do anything else with 7s? Doesn't look like it, so I'm going to move on to 8. So this 8 and doesn't do anything actually, but these two 8s lock out the rows, and that 8 locks out the middle column. So I do have a pair of 8s over there. But I think that's all I can do with the 8s. So let's do a 9. So this 9 on its own actually locks a pair of 9s over here, and that's a really powerful combination of 6 and 9 being locked in these two cells. And I am going to focus on that right now before I move on to the 9s. So when you've got two numbers sharing the same two cells within a cage, I guess. Basically, if there are two cells within a row, column, or cage, they are the only two possible candidates. So in this instance, within the cage, I've got 6 and 9 locked in these two cells, and in fact, since they line up, it also forces a 6 and 9 in this column, in this row as well. So in 2 dimensions, the 6 and 9 are restricted to two cells. So if one is a 6, then the other has to be a 9. And if the other is the 6, then this has to be a 9. So the 6 and 9 can't go anywhere else for a start. And also, no other numbers can go in these two cells, because if they do, it'll basically erase a possible location for either the 6 or the 9. So it'll make the puzzle unresolvable, basically. So with that in mind, I've only got 2 possible cells left in this cage, because I can't put the remaining 2 numbers in the 6 or 9 square cells. So that means I've got 1 and 3 left. So I'm just going to pencil mark them in. Those have to be 1s and 3s. So in fact, that forms a pointer pair of 1s and 3s, meaning that can't be a 1 anymore. So I can resolve the 1 over here. So now I've got 2 1s, but there are no 1s over here to lock the 1s down in 2 cells. So that's fine. What about 3s? So 3s can't go in these cells anymore, but again, I can't do anything with that. But also, within the row, I've only got 2 cells left as well, and they're also 1s and 3s. Well, I've got a 1 seeing into this cell, so this can't be a 1. That means this has to be a 3, and that has to be a 1. And by placing a 1 in the 1-3 pair, I basically forced a 3 in the other cell. So that was quite a nice little chain that has formed by just identifying the 6 and 9, basically. And before I move on, I'm just going to have a look and see if I can do more with the 1s and 3s. In fact, I do have a pair of 1s over here because of this one and that one, although it was unrelated to the new numbers that I've identified. So what about the 3? Can that 3 do anything for us? No, it can't. So that's a shame. So anyway, nonetheless, I'm able to place these 4 numbers because of the 6-9 pairs. So, well, actually, no, I think the 6 was already placed, wasn't it? So, but yeah, that's always useful. So let's resume the 9s and see if we can do any more pencil markings. So this 9 and that 9 overlaps, ruling out these cells. So I've got a pair of 9s up there. Any more 9s? Nope, that's all I can do with the 9s. So I've done a round of notations around the board, and I can do different things now. I can either do another round of notations because we've changed the layout of the board by placing in numbers. So chances are it's developed new possible pencil markings around the grid. So that's one thing we can do. The other thing we can do, which is more fun, is always look at the weak areas around the board. So by weak areas, I'm talking about any rows, columns. I don't have any columns with weak areas actually, but any rows, columns, or cages that have 2 or 3 cells remaining, basically. So in this cage, I've only got 3 cells. In this row, I've only got 3 cells left. Whilst I've got 2 cells here remaining in this row or cage, I know I can't deduce where the 6 and 9 goes anyway, so I'm going to ignore that for now. So with that in mind, let's have a look in this cage. I'm just going to look at these two weak areas. In fact, these two cells have to contain the same number because, yeah, whatever this is was C into these two cells, forcing it to be here. I believe that's the case. Actually, no. I can't assume that just yet because I don't know if that triple is shared. So let's see. I'm missing a 1 in this cage. 1, 4, and 9 are missing. So I can't place any 1s, 4, or 9s yet because if I look around, I can't see any 1s or 9s, and I've got 4 already pencil marked in. So what about this column? Sorry, this row. Yep, they're also 1, 4, and 9 missing on this row, but I can see a 4 and a 9 in this cell, so that forces a 1 in this cell. So now, as I confirmed earlier, this cell and that cell has to be the same because this cell sees into these two numbers, or this number sees into these two cells. So I'm able to resolve the 1 here as well. So this 1 has there the benefit of eliminating that 1, leaving me with a single 1 in here. And these two 1s along with that 1 locks another 1 in here because of that 1 taking the column and these two 1s taking the rows. So I've just erased a 5 when I placed in the 1s, so there's only 1 5 left in this cage, so it has to be 5 here, and that's going to erase another 7. So 1, 5 and 7 are deduced in this cage already. So that's the power of Snyder notations. Basically, you often find that there are chain reactions that you can just place additional numbers. So this 5 erases that 5, forcing a 5 down here. And let's see, that's all I can do with the 5s. So what about, what was the other number? I think I placed a 7, didn't I? So this 7 and that 7 rules out the 2 rows, and this 7 rules out the column, so I have another 7 down here. So these two 7s locks a pair of 7s up here. So you see the 4, 5, 7 and 9s are all kind of like forming a bit of a chain reaction here. So there's a good chance that if I resolve any of the numbers, or if I resolve some of them, like one of these two numbers, one of these two cells is going to have a massive effect on the other cells as well. Okay, so let's come back here with the 1s. Well, actually, I've got 2 1s here locking the 1s in this column, and I've got 1 over here, so I can actually resolve the 1 here. That erased the pencil marking of 2, so that forces a 2 in here. So I think all the 1s are done, so what about the 2s? I've got 2 looking in this direction and that 2, so that forces a pointed pair of 2s on the top row, so 2s on the top row has to be within the cage. So 2 has to be one of these 3 cells, but I don't know where they are. But I can't do anything else with it. So let's carry on with the weak areas. I have another weak area in here. I'm looking for 4s, 8s, and 9s. So 4s are locked in these 2 cells. I can't see where the 9s have to be in these 2 cells because of 9 being here, but I can't see where the 8 is in any of these 3 cells. So incidentally, this is also a 4, 8, 9 triples, so there seems to be somewhat of a relationship with, again, that forms a linked pair of cells. So this can't be an 8, can be a 4 and 9. In fact, I've got 4 and 9 in these 2 cells anyway within the cage. So 4, 9, 4, 9. So that can't be an 8, which means the 8s have to be down here. So now, based on that, I'm able to deduce that on this column, the 8 cannot go in this cell, and therefore the 8s have to be down here. So that actually means I formed an 8-9 pair within this column and within this cage actually at the same time, I believe. Yeah, so with the 8-9 pair, as we said before, the 8 and 9s, they can't, in fact, yeah, the 9s that was ruled as a 9 anyway before, so I could have placed the 4 and 9s because of the pointer pair of 9s. So that would have been another way of erasing the 4, forcing a pair of 8s and 9s in there. But also with the 8, erasing that as an 8 forces a pair of 8s down here as well. So ruling that out as an 8 as well. So this is now a 4. I'm sorry if that was a bit confusing, but I've kind of lost my train of thought there. So, but let's just carry on. This 4 and that 4 locks a pair of 4s over here. So I don't think I can do much more in this area because I've only got 8 and 9 left. So what else can I do? I think there's a lot that I can play with. I've got 2 cells left in this row, and they are 8 and 2, I believe. And I have an 8 up here seeing into this cell, so I can actually resolve that as a 2. Therefore, the 8 has to go here. And this 8 erases that 8, forcing an 8 in here. So, anything else? Yes, the 8 also forces a pair of 8 in here as well, although wasn't directly influenced by this 8. I've got 2 numbers left in here, which are 9s and 2s. So, let's pencil mark them in. 2s and 9s. You don't have to. Chances are we can resolve that some other way. I've got triple here in this cage, which are 2s, 5s, and 3s. So I know 3 locked in these 2 cells because that 3. I can't see. Oh, 2. There we go. That 2 ensures that the 2 is down here. That erases a 3, erases a 5, and that 5 erases a 5 up here, forcing a 5 over there instead. So unfortunately that doesn't break the chain reaction. I want to actually place a number in one of these 2 cells. But nonetheless, on this column I have now resolved the 2 being the only digit left. So also whilst looking at the 2s, I noticed this 2 also erases a 2 up there, so that forms a chain reaction of 2 and 7. No huge chain reaction, but nonetheless, again, I'm erasing numbers in these 2 cells rather than placing them, so this is a bit annoying, but that forced another 7. So now these 2 7s also forces a 7 up here because I've got a 7 looking into that column. So I think that's sort of 7's done. That 7 also forces a pair of 4s and 6s in this row, sorry, in this column. So I don't know where they are yet, so let's place them. Anything else I can do? This is a 2-9 pair on the column, but I've got 2 over here, so this can't be a 2. So 9 and 2 are resolved in this column, and that 2 unlocks the 9 over there as well. And let's erase the pencil marking 9 over there as well. Do not confuse ourselves. And this is a 4 and 3 pair. So the 3 seems to be causing some problems. So let's have a look at them quickly. This 3 and that 3 locks a 3 down here. So that's semi-useful. Not especially useful, but semi-useful. And in this column, I am now left with 4, 6, and 9. Can't resolve them yet, but I notice in this cage, the 9 can't go in this cell, so 9 has to go in these 2 cells. So again, that actually forms a 4-9 pair because 4 and they share the same cells as the 4, so that pushes the 8 out because of the matching pair rule. So if the 8 is out, then the 8 must be here and here on the row as well. So that is now a 9. So what can I do next? I think now 4 is the one giving me trouble, but I don't think I can resolve that just yet. I still have a 4, 8, 9 triple here, which I can't resolve. So let's look at something else then. What else can we look at? We have another triple of 4, 6 and something going on this row, but I can see 4 and 6 down here, so whatever the third number is, it has to be in here. So 4, 6 and 3, so that has to be a 3. Since there's a 4 and 6 there, looking into this cell, the 4 and 6 have to go over here instead, but I'm not going to place that because I'm only going to place the 4 and 6 here if I can place the 4 and 6 in this cage. So let's leave that for a second and pencil mark in the freeze in there because of that 3. This 3 also unlocks another pair, which is 8 and 9. Well, I've got 9 over here, so I can resolve the 8 and 9. So that 8 also forces an 8 up here because of these two 8s and that 8 over here. So that resolves the 3, and this 3 looks over here, resolves the 4 and 3 over here. And this 4 over here resolves the 6 and 4. So anything else? Oh, surprisingly not immediately, but we should be able to deduce these two numbers because they're the only number left on the rows. So this is a 4 and this is a 6. And that 6 resolves the 6 and 9 over here, which resolves the 9 and 4. And that solves today's medium New York Times Sudoku. I hope that's useful. I didn't go into too much details, but I kind of don't know how fast or slow to take it. So since I haven't had any comments about me going too quickly or too slowly, I thought I'll speed it up a little bit to not make another 40-minute video solving a medium Sudoku by over-explaining things. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. Otherwise, I shall see you tomorrow. Bye.